Sansan shouted with joy, as she swung from the trees in the forest, stretching out her body to make tendrils to allow her to swing from the trees. Alongside her was Fu, using Kyocei to swing. Nara as Wildvine was stretching her plant-like arms to swing, and surprisingly enough, Yami was also swinging with them. Yami had 2 new Grims strapped to his arms that he'd created recently called lickers. They were like large chameleons, with very long spiked tongues. Using those tongues, Yami was able to swing around like the rest of them. Or at the very least, try. Snap. Thud. Yami had one of his lickers grab onto a branch with their tongue, only for it to snap, causing him to fall to the ground on his back. Ow wow. Yami groaned in pain, stinging pain resonating throughout his body from his spine. And that's when Zero, who had been in front of everyone, swung back around and landed next to Yami. Hey kid, you alright? Yes, Yami answered, taking Zero's hand allowing him to pick him up. Not good at this. No is when they start off, Zero said, dusting off Yami's back. When I first started doing this I fell on my butt more times than I can remember. It's all about learning. Zero then turned Yami towards the branch that Yami had tried to swing off of. You see that? That branch was too small for you to grab onto. When you attach to something, you need it to be big and sturdy. Enough not just to support your weight, but also your acceleration. And you need to find it really quickly. The moment you attach onto something, you need to find the next thing, or even better, you need to know in advance. Sounds hard, Yami commented, looking down at his lickers, wondering if he could really do this. It is, but like I said, you just need to practice. Zero told him, putting a hand on his shoulder and giving him a large grin. Yami looked up at him and gathered his resolve. Okay. Hey guys, not to rush you, but my transformation only lasts so long. Nara reminded them from up in the trees. Then Sue and Ken as Wild Mutt jumped past them, the 2 of them practicing jumping around. Ken looked at Nara, gave her a weird laugh, stuck out his tongue, before jumping after Sue. Sorry. We're going, Zero said, before using his tape to pull him up, and then starting to swing. Yami took a second, looking for a thick sturdy branch, before finding it after a few seconds, and using his lickers to once again take to the trees. XXXXXXXXXXXXX. So that's why rabbits are so shy, Kay said. Kay and Koda were currently sitting together in the library at one of the tables, with tons of books in front of them, all about various animals. Koda smiled happily at her and nodded. He was quite fond of Kay. She was a happy, animal-loving cinnamon roll, and it was great teaching her about animals. Although he still didn't talk all that much. He just didn't like speaking, which was ironic considering his quirk. He mostly just pointed out some stuff in the books they were reading and said as little as he thought he could get away with while explaining things to her. The look on Kay's face, that brilliant smile as she learned something new, it honestly made him consider teaching. Obviously, he would never actually do that, because the idea of teaching a class terrified him, but it was nice to think about for a second. Oh, can I learn about cats next? Kay said, spotting a book about felines, grabbing it, and then holding it up, looking at Koda with that same eager smile, and all her snakes looking at him with anticipation. Koda smiled back and nodded, as the 2 opened the book and started learning. XXXXXXXXXX. Ha! Kiba shouted, as she delivered a punch to a dummy. Do you have to shout so loudly? Koda muttered beside her, doing the same kind of punch. Kiba, you're putting too much force into it. It'll leave you wide open if you miss. Ojiro told her from the side. Kiba, Koda, and Yami were all in the training room, practicing moves on dummies, under Ojiro's instruction and supervision. Everyone, do it again. Another 50 times. Ojiro told them. 50 times. Koda gave him a wide-eyed look. Repetition is important when learning martial arts, Ojiro told them. The more you do something, the easier it is, and the less you have to think about it. There is no shortcut when it comes to learning this. If you want to be able to do what I do, you have to train until you collapse. Ugh. Koda groaned. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't actually want to be a hero. Kiba pointed out, giving Koda a confused look. So why are you here? Just because I want to learn how to defend myself, doesn't mean I want to be a hero. Koda scoffed, giving Kiba a pointed glare. This boy's emotions are all over the place. Yami thought. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Ding! Alright, kids, the cakes are done. Let's take 'em out and see how well you did, Sato said to his students. Those students consisted of Eri, Kei, Kyoku, Yami Shiroku, Yanda, and of course Fuku, in her hoodie. All 8 of them were in the kitchen, learning from Sato to make some sweets, cake in particular. Remember kids, be careful when you take it out, you don't want to get burned, Sato warned, as the kids equipped oven mitts. Watch out for your forearms and elbows, if you're not paying attention they'll touch the stove. They opened the oven, and all of them took their cakes out. All the cakes looked fine, all of them having done this before, so they didn't make any obvious mistakes that would be noticeable at first glance. Alright. Good job kids. All the cakes looked stable, nothing crumbling, falling apart, or burnt. So far so good, Sato said as he inspected the cakes, the kids putting them on a nearby table as he did so. Now, for the taste test. Sato took out a fork and started taking a chunk out of everyone's cake to taste it. A bit too sweet, Sato said as he tasted Eri's cake. You put a bit too much sugar, don't worry, you'll get it right next time. Sato proceeded to do this to all the kids' cakes, judging them and giving them pointers. He got to Fuku's cake and took a bite. Great job Fuku. This is perfect. Oh really? Fuku asked him in slight disbelief. Are you sure there wasn't anything I mess up? Nah, this is great. I'm gonna have to start teaching you more advanced stuff, Sato said, giving her a huge grin, and giving her a head pat, causing the girl to get very flustered. Sato then moved on to Shiroku's cake and took a bite. And the spider girl winced when she saw Sato's face scrunch up in disgust. Is it that bad? I think you mixed up the salt and the sugar, Sato told her, seeing Shiroku look down in despair. Don't worry, it's an easy mistake. Lots of people make it. Why yeah, I think I even did that once, Fuku said, trying to reassure her. Shiroku, why are you taking a sudden interest in making a cake? You can't eat anything but flesh and spiders, Yanda asked. Actually, while we're on that topic, why can you only eat those 2 things? Spiders aren't exclusively cannibals, so why are you? Oh, that's actually because of an eating disorder I have, Shiroku explains. As for why I'm interested in cakes, well I discovered all the interesting ways people make art out of their cakes, and I really wanted to try it. Also, I felt I needed to find more hobbies aside from making clothes. Well, I'm sure you'll get the hang of it soon, Sato encouraged her. Now, everyone, let's move on to the next part. XXXXXXXXX. Fuku screamed at the TV, as she tried her very best to keep from expelling her gas. Come on Fuku, you can do it. Mina cheered her on, her voice slightly muffled by her gas mask. Don't give up. Eri and Kei cheered, also wearing gas masks, both of them on either side of her holding one of her hands. The 4 of them were participating in Fuku's quirk training. It was a simple process. Gather in Fuku's room, and watch horror movies with her. Fuku's goal was to stay as calm as possible and learn how to keep her quirk under control while stressed. Fuku could feel her quirk trying to activate, the gas trying to explode out of her, as her heart pounded rapidly. Breathe girl breathe, Mina reminded her. Fuku did so, taking deep breaths, and squeezing Kei and Eri's hands, trying to keep from bursting. Remember it's just a movie, look at how fake that blood is, Mina pointed out. And that body is definitely made of plastic. That's right, Fuku said, finally starting to calm down. She took a few more breaths, and her heartbeat went back to normal. She could feel her own quirk calming down. And just as she was feeling relieved, screeched the TV as mass jump scare happened in the movies. And then the room filled with gas. XXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I think we've got it now, Sue said. Looks good to me, Fu confirmed. Currently, Sue and Fu were in the forest, both of them had one of their hands on a tree. And those hands were both invisible. Sue had realized that she could change the color of her skin to match her surroundings, and wanted to see if she could camouflage herself like some frogs. She's also brought along Fu and Kyosei, as Kyosei could also change color on a whim, and as such he should be able to do the same thing. And after spending a few hours trying, they'd finally managed to make their hands practically invisible. Finally. We'll have to learn how to do this much faster if we want to use this during a fight, Fu noted. Yeah, it'll be best to practice on as many different surfaces as possible, Sue advised, before looking down at her outfit. But I'll have to get a special outfit that'll camouflage with me. Is that possible? Fu asked. Isn't the whole reason Hagakure has to run around nude because they can't make a costume that goes with her quirk? Camouflage and invisibility are different, Sue explained. You can still see someone when they're camouflaged. It's just very difficult. But you can't see an invisible person at all. This is why it's easier to make a camouflaging costume than it is to make an invisible one. I see. Fu absorbed that information and made a note to look up more things that made camouflage and invisibility different and how light related to them. For now, let's practice camouflaging while moving, Su told them. And such, with the rest of her day, decided the two of them put all their efforts into camouflage training. XXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Shinso and Ken were in the training room, staring at each other while Fu watched in the corner. Ken was currently in his upgrade form, meaning he was staring down at the older boy. Are you ready? Shinso asked him. You bet. Go ahead and try it. Ken responded. After that, there was a long silence that lasted for a couple minutes, before Ken spoke up. Did you try it? Ken asked. Are you mind-controlled? Shino asked him, trying again to activate his quirk on him. Nope, Ken responded. How about now? Shinso asked, trying again. Still not mind-controlled. Ken reiterated. Well, it looks like your hunch was right. Shinso revealed. My quirk has no effect on you like this. Alright. I'm mind-control proof. Ken cheered, jumping up and celebrating this new revelation. Interesting, Fu said, taking notes on this new discovery. This whole experiment came about when Fu was discussing with Ken about how organic the techno-organic upgrade was. Then while Fu was working on his notes, he found one of his notes on Shinso and wondered if Shinso's quirk would work on upgrade. And thus, this happened. So it appears that upgrade is more robotic than organic, Fu noted. Meaning Shinso's quirk won't have any effect on him. Wonderful. I hate robots. Shinso said, recalling his terrible experience with the UA entrance exam. He got in, but boy was it hard. Well then, I wonder how well Shinso will do against an opponent he can't use his quirk on, Fu said, looking up at Ken. Ken then looked at Shinso and tried to crack his non-existent knuckles. Well, what do you say, Shinso? Think you can take me? Shinso sighed. Well, I can't very well run away from a fight from a 10-year-old. So I guess my hands are tied. Maybe since he won't have any technology around to control and I can actually beat him. Shinso thought. Great. Now dodge. This was all the warning Ken gave him, before shooting a laser out of his eye which nailed Shinso in the chest. Gah! Shinso grunted as he was slammed into a wall by the laser. Oh. His chest was smoking and slightly burned, and his back hurt from being slammed so hard into a metal wall. Never mind. He shoots lasers apparently. Shinso groaned as he got up, and got ready to start the fight. Time to get my ass kicked. XXXXXXXXXXX. Izuka smiled as he looked at the cameras. Class 1A, true to their word, was giving it their all for the kids. Jiro and Kaminari were currently teaching Ken and Otoko how to play instruments. Specifically, Otoko wanted to learn how to play the drums and Ken wanted to play the electric guitar. Momo and Su were helping tutor Yami, Kei, and Sansan. And Achiko was showing Eri, Kyoku, and Yanda how to make birdhouses. It filled Izuka's heart to watch his kids growing closer to others and learning new things. And he hoped to see this same kind of thing more and more, for years to come. But for that to happen, he'd need to take care of one issue. Izuka looked down at one of the other cameras, which showed Aoyama doing the laundry.